Hi folks, another practice session. We're going to spend this week working on the feet. We just did a whole week on the hands a couple weeks ago, and so we want to bring your attention to the feet this week. And the thing about the hands and the feet is they're out at the extremities, at the ends of our arms and our legs. And so what Tai Chi Chuan tells us is that the conditions in the hand or the conditions in the foot are a result of what you're doing all along the way to get there, rather than something you do just with the hands or the feet. So spending a good week really paying attention to our feet and what they actually feel and how they actually work will lead you to make changes all along the way. So I want to start with the animal frolics, and I want you to really pay attention to the feet in each of these. Now, as we start with the feet, really remember the tripod, the heel of the foot, the ball of the foot behind the big toe, the ball of the foot behind the little toe. And those 3 points surround the bubbling well. I'm using my hand because the hand is an analog of the feet. So the heart of the palm in the hand is like the bubbling well in the foot. And the 3 points in the tripod in each foot should stay in contact with the ground. And depending on the weighting in the foot and how you're stepping and stuff, often all 3 of them will have the same kind of contact. So let's start out with the bear. And before you start, just feet parallel, toes in a line, comfortable distance. Find the tripod in each foot. Really find the heel in each foot. And then find the ball behind the big toes in each foot. And then find the ball behind the little toes in each foot. And now as we do the bear, pay attention to what you feel in the feet and the way that all 3 points of the tripod in each foot remain in contact. So there's a real tendency to roll around on the feet some. And so really try to keep that, even as the weight pours in and out of a foot, the 3 points of the tripod in that foot stay in contact with the ground. As you fill a foot, remember the other foot. As you fill the other foot, remember the first foot. So you're feeling both feet on the ground while you're doing this. Feeling the weight pour into a foot and feeling the weight pour out of a foot while the feet stay quiet on the ground. Couple more swings. Great. We're going to do the tiger next. And the tiger really gives you experience with the feet stepping. So the saying is that the heel has the meaning of root, the ball has the meaning of mobility. And what that often means is that you'll touch with the heel when you're going to put weight into a foot. And the last thing that touches will be the ball when you're about to move a foot. So as we're doing the tiger here, pay attention to that feeling of stepping with the heel, then both points of the ball going down as you shift the weight forward. The rear foot comes up on the ball, and then both points of the ball leave the ground together as you step, and then you shift your weight. So doing this, pay attention to heel first, then the ball last, then you step. And go ahead. I don't care about all the other stuff with the tiger right now. I want you to really feel the feet. The rest of it falls apart. That's okay. Feel the heel, then the ball. Ball leaves the ground. Shift the weight. Heel, then the ball. Ball leaves the ground. Shift the weight. Heel both points of the ball. Heel both points of the ball. Pay attention to the rear stepping foot. Both points of the ball are still in contact. Both points of the ball touch. And then you shift the weight. Both points of the ball are still in contact. Both points of the ball touch. And then you shift the weight. The rear foot, the ball touches down before the heel because the foot's slightly behind you. If it was in front of you, the heel would touch first. Both points of the ball, both points of the ball. Shift. Step, both points of the rear ball, both points of the rear ball. Shift. Once more on each side. Monkey is up next. In the monkey, again, it's the same kind of thing. You step out, heel, both points of the ball touch down. As you shift forward and reach for that peach, make sure that both points of the rear foot are still connected. Don't let the rear foot start rolling. And then when you step, both points of the rear foot touch down. This time you don't shift weight, you keep it all in the other leg. But make sure that when you step, again, you're not stepping one side or the other, and that just the ball touches. So you step, the heel goes down, both points of the ball and the front foot come down. You come forward, both points of the ball and the rear foot are connected, not rolling. The foot comes with you, and the ball touches. So, monkey. Heel, both points of the ball, rear foot, and back. Heel, both points of the ball, rear foot, and back. Heel, ball, ball, ball. Heel, ball, ball, ball. Once more on each side. The deer. In the deer, we're going to keep both of our feet on the ground. So the front foot stepping has the same mechanics. The heel touches, then the ball goes down. But as you display your antlers, really keep that rear heel connected. There's something in the deer that when people display their antlers, their rear heel peels off the ground. So as you're doing this and you're rolling them out, feel all 3 points in the rear foot. And of course your front foot shouldn't be rolling. That's less likely to happen. So, the deer. Step. Both points of the ball go down. Display the antlers All 3 points in the rear foot are still connected. And come back. Step, heel. Both points of the ball go down. Display your antlers. All 3 points in the rear foot are still connected. Make sure to keep that rear heel connected. Notice if you lose it when you come forward and display the antlers. Front foot steps, both points of the ball touch. Rear foot, all 3 points stay connected. Front heel steps, both points of the ball touch. Rear foot, all 3 points stay connected. Once more on each side. And the crane, my favorite way of doing the crane is to leave my rear foot. So I step forward, I open my wings, and my rear heel comes off the ground. If I wanted to, I could then step, or I could bring the foot up or something. But I really like to leave it behind. And as you're doing that, you'll get this feeling of a long stretch all the way down to the 2 points of the ball. Make sure you don't come onto the toes. If you come onto the toes, it'll make the rear leg slack rather than having that taut stretchedness. But of course, you're not pushing. I'm not thrusting out of the rear leg. I come forward, and as I move away from the rear leg, the heel peels off the ground, but I keep both points of the rear foot on the ground. The front foot is just the same. Heel, then both points of the ball go down. So, the crane. Opening, rear ball connected. Feel when your rear heel goes back down to the ground. Step, heel, both points of the ball. Opening, rear ball stays connected. Feel when the rear heel touches the ground again. Front foot. Rear foot. Rear heel reaching for the ground. Front heel, both points touch. Both points of the rear ball stay on the ground. Feel the rear heel when it touches the ground. Step, heel, both points of the ball touch. Rear heel peels off the ground, both points of the ball on the ground. Feel the rear heel when it touches down again. Once more on each side. Great. So let's do a first third. And really keep coming back to the feeling of the feet on the ground. The animals, the changes are relatively simple and we do them over and over. In the form, they just keep coming at you. And so really keep returning to that feeling of the feet. Notice any place where the foot wobbles around. It's really easy, for example, doing roll back for the front knee to fall in and the front foot to roll on the ground. Or sitting back for the front ball to pick up. All of those places, keep the foot even on the ground as you do this. And just keep coming back to that feeling in the feet as you do it. So right away, rear crown of the head is suspended. Open body. Lets the weight drop through the joints towards the ground. And both of your feet are nicely in contact with the ground. And go ahead. Feel every time your foot leaves the ground and comes back to the ground. Especially if it wasn't a time you intended for the foot to leave the ground. Feeling the feet on the ground. Okay. How was that? Do you remember your feet? Let's look at a couple of places. First one I want to look at is doing grass sparrow's tail. Forward, off, right, roll back, press and push. And I want you to do this. We're going to do it a bunch of times. And I want you to pay special attention to the front foot. So do this with me. Start out on forward, off, right. And turn to the corner and sit back. As you sit back, feel your right foot, all 3 points of the tripod connected. Stop and roll back for a second and see if you lifted that front foot at all. Did you lose contact with the ball? And now turn and watch as you do the swinging of the arms and come back towards the press. Do you lose the outer ball of the front foot? Back into press. Sit back. As you sit back, all 3 points of the right foot stay in contact. You don't roll onto the heel. And shift into push. Back to a ward off right, and do it again. Sitting back, all 3 points of the right foot stay in contact. Turning, the right foot doesn't roll. You keep the ball behind the little toe. Coming back towards the front and press. Sit back, keep all 3 points of the front foot connected. Shift forward. Again, ward off, and just run through it, really paying attention to that front foot. Ward off, roll back, press, and push. Another couple times through it. Really feeling the front foot stay connected to the ground. Okay, and now keep going and pay attention to the left foot. Look if you roll on the left foot at all, like when you're swinging the arms. Does the left foot roll? As you come forward, do you keep the left heel in contact? As you sit back, does the foot roll? As you come forward, do you keep the heel? Ward off. Again. Rear foot. Stable on the ground, no rolling. Rear heel stays connected. Again. Let's do another 3 and try to pay attention to both of your feet. Both feet. One more time. Both feet. Great. Let's do another first third, and then I'll turn it over to Beth. And really pay attention to your feet while you're doing this. Go ahead. Feeling your feet on the ground as they leave the ground and as they return to the ground. Feel both feet. Close. So the E leads the Chi. The directed attention, the feeling awareness brings your internal energy along with it. And so the first thing in getting your E and your Chi to actually move through the whole body is actually paying attention. So just spending some time paying attention to your feet, how they connect to the ground, and what that feels like is good work to be doing.
So I want to look at the issue of the arches in the foot before we move on. I've had a lot of trouble with this. It took me about 2 years to realize that I wasn't supposed to just splooch my whole foot down to the ground. The arches have a real purpose there. So I want you to stand. We're going to look at the weighted foot. Stand with your weight. I don't care which leg you're in. Put the foot a little bit to the angle. Empty the other foot. Let it be out in front. And now bring your focus to the leg that you're standing on. And feel the 2 points on the ball behind the big toe, ball behind the little toe. Feel the heel. Make sure you get the fullness of the heel. The heel has kind of a 2-part bone. So make sure that you're not just catching one piece of it, but really get a full connection through the heel. And relax your toes so that you really are using the arches of the foot, and there's a little bit of space under there in here. And as you stand here, really try to feel that the arch is helping you connect to the ground. Now, go ahead and see if you can let go of that feeling and release it, and notice what happens to the leg that you're standing on. It'll change where your knee is a little bit, and once that happens, it takes you away from the outer edge of the foot. So even without thinking about rolling, simply losing the arch will have a real change at the bottom of your foot. So now bring that arch back into place and relax the toes, because if you grip with the toes, you can check it out, grip with your toes and see what that does to the bottom of your foot. Now let the toes relax, let the foot rest on this structure of the arches that have these 3 points as their connections. That's the piece that you want to keep connected, not the instep. And as you stand here, just go ahead, keeping the weight in the back leg, and just turn a little bit and try to maintain the structure in the foot as you turn, as opposed to having the foot kind of move with you as you turn, or the whole leg and the foot. So get your connection back to your foot. Now let's try it on the other one. Shake out your leg and do it on the opposite leg. Feeling the weight dropping through all 3 of those points, and it might be real different feeling on the 2 legs, so give yourself a moment to find it in the new foot. And again, relax your toes, feel those 3 points, feel them fully, and notice that arch. Feel where that arch actually helps create the structure that you connect to the ground through. And that anything that loses that structure, whether it's rolling to the outside or letting the arch fall in, will lose some of that structure. So find that structure, relax your toes, and you can turn a little bit. Notice what you need to do to keep the structure in the foot so that you're stable as you turn around it. So rest your legs a moment, and what you might find as we do this is that the way that your leg connects up into your hips and to your pelvis has an effect on whether or not you can get your feet in a good connection to the ground. So I want to look at this in white crane. So, and as always, if we're just doing this right outside of the form, just put your foot at an angle rather than making yourself be at 90 degrees. We can look at that in a little bit. But get yourself into the posture. And what I want you to do, we're going to look at both legs, so we're going to look at them one at a time. So let's start with the leg that you're standing on. Get your connection through those 3 points. Really maintain your arch. Get the structure to hold you. Release your toes so that they relax and aren't clenched. And then you're going to turn on top of that leg and keep the structure. Just come back. We're just going to turn and come back. How far do you turn? One clue is going to be the leg that you're standing on. Then we'll look at the empty leg. So as you're coming through here, you want to turn as far as you can, keeping that structure. Notice what happens if you turn a little too far. And you start to probably roll to the outside of that foot. So become aware of that. When we do Tai Chi, we try to turn as much as we can, and that might lead us away from actually how far we can turn, still following Tai Chi principles. So notice where your limits are, and let the foot tell you where those limits are. And now shake out your leg, and then we'll pay some attention to the empty leg. Because it's the other piece of this problem of what are your limits and how can you stay in a good shape. So come back to the posture, and notice what's happening in your front foot. Both points on the ball need to be in contact. And if there's a little bit of a disconnect to one of them, it's going to have an effect all the way up into your leg. So you can kind of wiggle it around and find those 2 points. And now, as you turn, you want to keep those 2 points. So that's the other limitation that you're going to have, is not turning past the point where you can keep this empty leg connected fully at both points of the ball. So go ahead and turn a little too far and see what happens. So as you do this, once you figure out where the right place to turn to is, you can stop and actually check out your empty foot. Has there been a little bit of a roll? Notice when there's a little bit of a roll at the foot that it makes a big change at the knee. So rest your leg. Let's look at it in lifting hands so that we can spend a little bit of time on the other leg so we don't just burn out the same leg. And now this is a little different because it's heel, not ball, but it's the same issue, the empty leg that is. It's going to be on the 2-part heel, and as you turn, and even as you let the foot go, it wants to keep its connection. So you turn and keep it, all 3 of those points in contact. You could just leave it on the heel if you want, since we're not really going anywhere. And notice, does that leg roll? Turn and turn yourself just a little too far and notice what that does. Feel it on the inside of your leg. Feel how the foot starts to roll. It takes the knee a little bit laterally. So come back to it, shake out your legs, and bring some awareness to really, you have to keep all this relaxed and open so that when you turn, it doesn't take this whole leg with you, or even just a little bit roll the foot around. So figure out where the place you can go to is while still maintaining structure and not letting that foot roll, and feel the difference between doing that and going just a little bit too far and feeling where the pull is and how it takes your foot away from that good connection. So go ahead and rest your legs, and I want to do that segment of the form, the both brush knees. We'll start at white crane. Actually, we'll start at shoulder strikes so that you get a chance to, from here, come into this foot. And now this is more challenging because we're going to be at 90 degrees. Use the awareness and information at the bottom of your foot to help you come into this posture without having this happen, because that'll hurt your knee. Once you're in that 90-degree posture, it can be really dangerous to your knee if you go too far. So let's do that, and I guess I'll face the same direction. Okay, feel the bottom of your right foot, and as you shift into it, get those 3 points connected, and as you turn, only turn as far as those 3 points can stay connected. Continue. As you're turning, what's happening on the empty foot? And fully into your left leg, feeling all 3 of those points. Step and shift. Shift directly to those 3 points. And another brush knee. Empty leg stays in place. And rest your legs, and we'll do that segment again. So, shouldering. Feeling that right foot and shift into it, keeping the structure of those 3 points as you turn. Staying on top of that foot. Empty foot is not whirling around. Step, and we've already gone through this, it's heel first, then the 2 points of the ball go down. All the weight into the 3 points. As you step back, go directly to those 3 points. And continue. The leg you're standing on provides support. The empty leg is not rolling around. Step, heel, then as you shift both points of the ball, and continue. And one more time. And go. Letting the feeling at the bottom of your feet tell you what's going on, give you information. Notice where there's any tendency to wobble. That's information. Heel, then the 2 points at the ball. Maintaining the heel in the back foot too. And rest your legs. So you can go through this paying attention to just one foot, paying attention to just the other foot, really figuring out where there's, where your sweet spot is. And these limitations that will arise are good things. They're not bad. It's good to have those limitations because it tells you how far is the right amount to turn. It also tells you how far is the right amount to step. So when you step out, you want the heel to make a good connection and the ball to make a good connection, and that when you finish, you have a good connection through all 3 points. So if you're taking tiny little steps that might feel okay on the leg that you're standing on, but you might not have enough connection through the back leg. Conversely, if you're taking great big steps, it may seem like you've got a good heel when you start, and then when you try to get into the ball, either you get into the ball and lose the heel, or you don't quite make it into the ball because it's too far away. So those kinds of feedback that your body gives you are clues about what you can do to get yourself more in the range that you actually have available to you. So let's do that set again and, notice any of those places that things start falling apart. And begin into the right leg, good connection through that right foot. Left foot is resting on both balls, both ends of the ball. As you turn, nothing is disturbed. Your front foot isn't disturbed, your rear foot isn't disturbed. Step. As you shift, good connection, good connection. Your back foot also wants to have a good, solid connection. All the way into the left. That structure should make you able to step and then come into the right foot directly into those 3 points. As you continue, keeping those 3 points. Foot is on the ball, the empty foot, the left foot is on the ball right now, so that it's easy to take a step. Heel, begin to shift. Both points come in contact and complete the move. Stand here a moment. Feel your feet. Relax your toes. Check it out. Is your front foot pointing straight ahead? How's the connection through the rear foot? Do you have all 3 points in both feet? Relax your toes. Make sure you still have some arch. And rest your legs. So then there's another issue, and that is the back foot. So we've looked at when your front foot is being rolled around, what that does to the whole leg. You know, when you do something like this, if you let this roll around, it's going to change the whole shape. You want this to stay undisturbed, unperturbed as you turn. Well then, and a lot of the problem ends up being here. So if I turn like this, it means that I'm tight here and I can't let this release. So this relationship of how the leg comes out of the socket is going to have a lot to do with what you can connect to on the ground. Same thing happens in the back leg of a 70-30. So if I'm in a 70-30 and I have, say, not much of an angle in the back foot, you know, if it's almost parallel, then go ahead and put yourself there and feel what that does. It loses the outer edge. I don't have a good connection through the ball behind the little toe. And my arch tends to fall in, and the rear heel doesn't have a good connection around the whole space of it. It's just falling to the inside of the heel as well. So the angle that your leg is at will have a lot to do with it. Now you can also be too wide in your angle. And if you turn the foot out a lot and then try and square your hips, notice what that does too. So in either case, the situation isn't a problem. I can diagnose it at my foot, but that's not how I solve the problem. I have to solve the problem by changing how my leg is coming out of the socket. So you want to find the correct angle for you at any given moment. It may change over time. You may some days be more open. That problem is it's not a place that you need to go to. It's going to be determined by what's happening in your body. So find the angle that allows you to really connect all 3 points solidly, even as the weight is in your front leg. And as you do that, go ahead and play around with some of the different angles that you could put it at, so that you can really find the one that gives you the best connection to the ground. And now you can switch legs. And again, you may find that things are different on one leg than they are on the other. So that's why paying attention to what it feels like is a lot more important than memorizing, oh, I put it at exactly this angle. You want to put it at exactly the angle that supports a good connection through the ground. Because without all 3 of these points connecting in a pretty equal way, you won't be centered over the bubbling well. So get that whole connection. Go ahead and play around with it a little bit. Notice what happens if you go too wide, even by a little bit, or if you make the angle a little too small, and what that does. Get yourself in the place that really gives you a good connection. The toes can relax. There's a fullness around the outer edge of the heel as well, not just rolling to the inside piece of the heel. And now let's do that same segment again, and this time I want you to bring more awareness to how you end up in the 70-30. So even starting out here, what's happening in your rear heel? This is an awkward position because we're at 90 degrees, but that means that your dantian is going to be wherever it needs to be to keep that rear foot connected, and then shift. And as you turn, that's going to replace the foot. Go into brush knee. And step. Make sure you turn on the heel of the rear foot and that you stop turning at a point where the foot has good connection to the ground. Stand here a moment. Really feel what you need to do to get a good connection through all 3 points. Relax your toes. And let's do the next one. Good connection through the left foot. The right foot comes off the ground. When you step back, it's always ball first. So put the 2 points of the ball, shift into it. And then we'll go into the next brush knee. Step and shift. And complete the move. You may or may not need to turn that back foot in depending on where you put it down. But whatever you need to do, get that connection so that you are in a solid relationship to the ground. Relax your toes. Let's do it again. I'll do it this way. And standing here into the front leg. Stay connected through that leg as you step. Keep those 3 points. Keep the 3 points. Even as you step, keep the 3 points. Then shift, get them in the front leg, turn back foot on the heel just enough to complete the move, and still have all 3 points connecting in the back foot. Shift. Back foot goes down the 2 points of the ball, then into the heel. Whole foot is connected. Empty foot's resting on the heel, but it's also got an easy connection there. When you turn, the empty foot stays out there and doesn't get perturbed. Step, keeping the connection on the bottom foot and on the rear foot, the foot you're standing on, and complete. As you stand here, feel that you've got a good connection through your rear heel, the rear ball, both points, toes relaxed. And let's do it once more. We won't stop. We'll just flow through it. And go. And rest your legs. So the connection at either foot will affect the other one the way that it connects up through your legs to the hip joints will also affect how the feet work. Stepping can pull you out of the ground, or you can stay in the ground, and that will help you know what size step to take. If every time you step, that happens, you're going to both ultimately have some knee pain, and you'll be unstable. And what it's telling you is step somewhere else. Step somewhere that you can stay connected with that structure and stable. And then from there, you figure out where the right place to step is. So let's do another first third and just become aware of what your feet are telling you. And begin. Keep coming back to the feeling in your feet. So there's no end to to the information that your feet can be giving you. As you become more aware, it will become more subtle, the information that's available to you. But I find whenever I pay any attention to what's going on in my feet, I can always make some little adjustments, and they're internal adjustments, they're small adjustments. So go ahead and let yourself evolve with this information at your feet.